The $4.7 trillion RV market is collapsing. Dealers are in full panic as Americans turn RVs into homes. And what is driving this massive shift is about to destroy the traditional housing industry forever. Picture RV lots packed with unsold motorhomes stretching as far as the eye can see, dealers slashing prices by 60% or more, and manufacturers shutting down production lines that ran non-stop for decades. But this is not just about the RV industry dying. This is about a revolution in how Americans live, work, and define home itself. Millions are abandoning mortgages and apartment leases, choosing wheels over walls. They are working remotely from national parks and building lives untethered to any single address, sending shockwaves through banks, city budgets, and everything we know about the American dream. If homes can move, what happens next to those who cannot? The story behind this collapse starts at the height of the pandemic boom, when runaway optimism set up a disaster nobody saw coming. At the height of the pandemic, a wave of panic buying swept across America's RV lots. Families, couples, and solo adventurers lined up before sunrise, desperate for a shot at freedom on wheels. Dealers who had never seen crowds like this watched their entire inventory vanish in days. The usual slow stroll through rows of gleaming motorhomes turned into a race, with buyers placing deposits on anything with a roof and an engine. Some lots emptied by noon and posted handwritten signs that read, "Sold out, check back next month." The old idea of the RV as a vacation toy melted away. For many, it became a lifeboat. With lockdowns tightening and headlines filled with uncertainty, RVs promised an escape, a way to keep moving, to work remotely, and to keep families together and safe. Stories spread of people cashing out home equity, draining savings, or taking on new debt just to secure a rig. Social media buzzed with photos of keys handed over in parking lots, kids jumping on RV beds, and parents mapping out new lives far from city limits. Dealers, caught in the rush, scrambled to keep up. Many doubled or tripled their orders from manufacturers, betting that demand would keep soaring. In Elkhart County, Indiana, the heart of RV manufacturing, factory lines ran day and night, and suppliers quoted 12-month waits for basic components. Executives at Thor Industries and Forest River approved extra shifts, convinced the boom would last for years. Salespeople, used to slow seasons, found themselves fielding calls from buyers hundreds of miles away, willing to pay above sticker price or wire deposits sight unseen. Yet behind the excitement, a subtle anxiety lingered. Some buyers wondered if they were making the right move, trading stability for mobility. Others, watching prices climb and lots empty, felt a growing urgency. If they did not act now, they might never get a chance. For a brief, feverish moment, the American dream seemed to fit inside 30 feet of fiberglass and steel. The rush was on, and nobody wanted to be left behind. Inside Elkhart County, Indiana, the heart of American RV manufacturing, the race to build more rigs reached a fever pitch. By summer 2021, factory parking lots overflowed with shift workers clocking in at all hours. Plants that once ran 5 days a week switched to round-the-clock schedules. Thor Industries and Forest River, the industry's giants, added third and even fourth shifts, with managers posting overtime sign-up sheets on break room walls. The competition for workers grew intense, and local staffing agencies reported record demand as every plant in the region scrambled to fill new positions. Supplier networks strained under the pressure. Orders for key components like refrigerators and chassis stacked up so fast that lead times stretched to nearly 1 year. One executive described it as trying to build a house when the lumber truck is stuck in traffic for 12 months. Dealers, desperate to secure inventory, placed orders a full season in advance, betting that buyers would still be lined up when the units finally arrived. The optimism in Elkhart was hard to ignore. In earnings calls, company leaders promised investors that the boom was no flash in the pan. Thor's CEO said in 2021 that we are building for a new America, that families want freedom, and we are here to deliver. Production lines expanded, warehouses filled with half-finished units waiting for missing parts, and suppliers warned of backlogs stretching into the next year. This surge wasn't just a reaction, it was a gamble. Manufacturers committed to massive output, convinced that the demand would never fade. The entire ecosystem, suppliers, logistics firms, and local businesses hitched their fortunes to the runaway train of RV production. For a moment, it seemed like the only limit was how fast the factories could run. But as the assembly lines roared and the orders piled up, few paused to ask what might happen if the music stopped. RV showrooms that once echoed with the footsteps of eager buyers now feel abandoned. In May 2025, shipments tumbled to just 28,150 units, a 15% drop from the same month the year before. Retail sales are sliding too, with February registrations falling nearly 12% year over year. Dealers who spent years fighting for every last rig now face a different battle, moving product that no one seems to want. Rows of shiny motorhomes, travel trailers, and fifth wheels sit untouched, gathering dust under fluorescent lights. Some have been parked for so long, their batteries are dead and their tires are flat. Inventory is piling up at a speed the industry hasn't seen since the Great Recession. The numbers tell the story. Average days on lot have ballooned to record highs, with many dealers reporting units lingering for 8, 10, even 14 months. In 2021, a new RV might have lasted just 6 weeks before a buyer snapped it up. Now lots across Indiana, Arizona, and Florida are packed tight, their gates barely able to close around the overflow. Dealers are slashing prices, desperate to clear space. Discounts of 40 to 60% off sticker are common, and some high-end models have lost up to 80% of their value since the peak. One dealer in Mesa, Arizona sold 113 out of 600 units during a weekend fire sale, but even that was not enough to keep up with the backlog. For every RV that leaves, 2 more seem to arrive from the factory, ordered months ago in an era of blind optimism. The pain isn't just in new sales. Used RV values have crashed too. Owners who paid $120,000 in 2021 now see offers of $40,000 or less. Some lose $10,000 in value in just 2 weeks. Dealers, squeezed by floor plan loans and mounting interest, have begun cutting hours and laying off staff. In Elkhart, hundreds of workers received pink slips as factories slowed or shut down. The result is an industry in gridlock. Shipments have slowed, but the lots are still overflowing. The once booming market has frozen, and the sense of urgency is everywhere, from the empty showrooms to the frantic markdowns. The American RV dream, once a ticket to freedom, now sits idle, waiting for buyers who may never come. Dealers across the country are sounding the alarm. February 2025, registrations are down nearly 12% compared to last year. Travel trailers, once the backbone of the market, have slipped 12.4%. Fifth wheels are down 9.2%, and the high-end Class A motorhomes have cratered nearly 20%. Only Class C models show a flicker of demand, but even that is not enough to offset the slide. The numbers land like a punch, retail sales are evaporating, and the phones in the showrooms ring less with each passing week. Inside dealer offices, the mood has shifted from hope to dread. Managers who once bragged about record orders now study monthly bulletins from manufacturers, searching for any hint of a turnaround. Instead, the updates are grim. The latest bulletin, quietly circulated among the largest chains, warns of prolonged inventory imbalances and urges immediate action to reduce stock. For many, that means slashing prices even further and accepting losses just to keep cash flowing. One Arizona dealer described it bluntly: "If we do not move these rigs, the bank will move us." The problem is not just the empty showrooms, it is the mountain of debt behind every unsold RV. Dealers rely on floor plan loans to stock their lots, with each unit acting as collateral. When a rig sits unsold for months, the interest piles up. In 2021, a dealer might have paid 3% interest. By 2025, that number has soared to as much as 12%. Banks are growing nervous. Some have started tightening credit, shortening curtailment windows, or demanding big principal payments if inventory lingers too long. Dealers caught in this squeeze are forced to dump units at auction, often at a 40 or 50% loss. The consequences ripple outward. As inventory gluts worsen, manufacturers are left with canceled orders and unpaid invoices. Workers face layoffs. Towns that once thrived on the RV trade brace for lean times. The panic is contagious. Each new bulletin, each round of layoffs, adds fuel to the fear that the industry is spiraling toward a reckoning. The glut of unsold RVs is not just a symptom, it is a warning that the financial strain is only beginning. Every RV sitting on a dealer's lot isn't just unsold inventory, it is a loan, ticking away interest day after day. This is the hidden engine behind the panic sweeping the industry: floor plan financing. Dealers use these revolving credit lines to stock every motorhome, trailer, and fifth wheel, with each rig acting as collateral for the debt. On paper, it is simple. As soon as a unit sells, the loan tied to it gets paid off. But when sales stall, the math turns brutal. In 2021, the game felt safe. Interest rates on floor plan loans hovered around 3%, and most RVs sold long before the first payment came due. But as the market cooled and the Federal Reserve hiked rates, the cost of carrying unsold rigs soared. By 2025, those same loans carried rates between 8 and 12%. For a dealer with $10 million in inventory, that means hundreds of thousands in annual interest, just to keep the lights on and the gates open. The terms are unforgiving. Most contracts require a curtailment payment, typically 10 to 20% of the RV's price, if a unit sits unsold for more than 75 days. Miss a curtailment, and the bank can freeze the dealer's entire line of credit, demand full repayment, or even seize other assets. With so many rigs lingering for months, dealers are forced to cough up cash they do not have, or dump units at auction for pennies on the dollar. Unlike a typical business loan, floor plan debt is secured by the very inventory that is losing value every week. As prices crash, lenders tighten the screws. Some banks have started demanding bigger down payments, 25% instead of the old 10%. Reserve requirements have doubled, and only the biggest chains can still get new credit lines. For smaller dealers, there is nowhere to turn. One missed payment and years of work can vanish overnight. The numbers are staggering. In the second quarter of 2025, Lazy Days Holdings paid over $10 million just in floor plan interest. Camping World reported floor plan debt above $500 million. For independents, interest expense has swallowed up as much as a quarter of total revenue. As units sit unsold, curtailments pile up, and banks grow impatient, the threat of default becomes a daily reality. This system, designed to keep inventory flowing, now acts like a vice. Dealers are trapped between rising rates, relentless curtailments, and a market that has lost its appetite. Each day an RV sits on the lot, the pressure mounts. The collapse is not just about falling sales, it is about the hidden leverage that turned optimism into a financial time bomb. Banks are no longer waiting for dealers to catch up. By mid-2025, more than $6 billion in floor plan debt sits in workout negotiations or active default. On the surface, it looks like just another business cycle. But the numbers tell a different story. Interest alone is swallowing dealers alive. Lazy Days. Holdings paid $10.7 million in floor plan interest in just one quarter. For independents, interest payments eat up as much as a quarter of their revenue, leaving little left for payroll, repairs, or even the electric bill. The pressure is relentless. Lenders, spooked by collapsing recreational vehicle values and inventory that is months old, are accelerating curtailment schedules. What used to be a 90-day grace period shrinks to 60, then 45. Miss a single curtailment, and the bank does not just call to talk, it freezes the line on the spot. Suddenly, a dealer with $3 million in unsold rigs wakes up to find every dollar of credit gone. No warning, no negotiation. The only option left is to dump inventory at auction, often at a 40 or 50% loss. Large chains are not immune. Camping World, with over $500 million in floor plan debt, faces demands for bigger down payments, 25% instead of 10%. Banks require double the reserves they did 2 years ago, and only the biggest players can still get new lines of credit. Regional chains like Blue Sky Dealers in Florida, holding 600 units for nearly a year, see their annual interest bills top $2.2 million. When their lender demanded payment on 18-month-old units, they had no choice but to send them straight to auction, where they sold at an average 52% discount. For independents, the blow lands even harder. At Sunnyside RV in Indiana, the owner watched as interest ballooned from $100,000 to $420,000 a year. When a curtailment payment was missed, the bank froze the entire line. Within weeks, the business filed for bankruptcy, and every recreational vehicle on the lot was liquidated at a 48% loss. Stories like this play out across the country. Dealers forced to close, inventory seized, dreams erased overnight. The tactics are ruthless. Banks now run monthly audits instead of quarterly, and lines are yanked at the first sign of trouble. Recourse clauses mean lenders can go after personal assets, not just recreational vehicles. There is no government bailout, no safety net, just a cold calculation from risk managers eager to limit their own exposure. For every dealer that survives, 3 more are pushed to the brink, forced to watch years of work disappear with a single frozen credit line. The financial system that once fueled the recreational vehicle boom is now squeezing the life out of the industry, one dealer at a time. Auctioneers now call out numbers in a frenzy, their voices echoing across cavernous warehouses packed with RVs nobody wants. Rows of motorhomes and travel trailers, some still wrapped in plastic, wait for the next desperate bid. In late 2025, auction volume in key markets has surged nearly 80% year over year, overwhelming regional facilities that once handled a fraction of this traffic. The air is thick with tension, as units that cost $120,000 2 years ago now struggle to fetch $40,000 if they sell at all. Dealers, cornered by frozen credit lines and mounting curtailments, arrive with stacks of titles, forced to liquidate at whatever price the market will bear. The numbers are brutal. Across the Midwest and Sunbelt, liquidation losses average 30 to 50% against book value. Some lots are hit even harder. At Sunnyside RV in Indiana, the owner watched as every unit on the lot, 120 in total, was hauled to auction after a missed payment triggered the bank to freeze his line of credit. The final tally was a 48% loss on inventory, years of work erased in a single afternoon. Sunnyside's story is not unique. Dealers from Ohio to Arizona unload fleets of unsold rigs, knowing each sale locks in a loss, but keeps the bank from seizing personal assets. On the auction floor, chaos reigns. Bidders, many representing national chains or wholesalers, circle the newest arrivals, calculating how much value is left after months of sitting idle. Some RVs have flat tires and dead batteries. Others are pristine but cursed by their timing. The pace is relentless. Units roll in, the gavel falls, another loss recorded. By the end of the day, the only winners are the few with enough cash to scoop up bargains, and the lenders who recover a fraction of their loans. For everyone else, it is a reckoning. The sense of irreversible damage is everywhere. Dealers who once dreamed of expansion now fight to survive, watching as the market bottom drops out beneath them. The flood of auctions is not just a symptom, it is the moment the industry optimism finally gives way to despair. Sunnyside's empty lot stands as proof. In this new reality, even the strongest can be swept away by the tide. Bankruptcy courts in the Midwest are processing 5 times as many recreational vehicle dealer filings as they did before the pandemic. In Elkhart County, the news of 700 layoffs at Thor Industries landed like a thunderclap. Families who had counted on steady paychecks from the factory floor now scramble to find work in a town where almost every neighbor is facing the same struggle. The ripple spreads quickly. Local diners lose their breakfast crowds, hardware stores cut hours, and landlords brace for missed rent. John W., who spent 16 years as a loan officer at a regional bank, remembers the old days when recreational vehicle dealerships were pillars of the community. He used to walk the lots with owners, shaking hands and talking about next year's models. Now his days are filled with tense meetings and foreclosure paperwork. "We are not just talking about numbers on a spreadsheet," he says. "These are friends. These are people whose kids went to school with mine." The collapse isn't limited to dealers and their workers. Banks that once saw floor plan loans as a safe bet are now writing down millions of dollars in losses. Collateral that was supposed to cover the risk, hundreds of gleaming recreational vehicles, has lost half its value or more. For every $100,000 loaned, the bank might recover $40,000 at auction, sometimes even less. Quarterly earnings calls are filled with questions about non-performing assets and loan loss provisions. Some regional lenders have pulled out of recreational vehicle financing altogether, unwilling to take another hit. On Main Street, the pain is everywhere. Laid-off welders line up at job fairs for positions that pay half of what they earned on the line. Former sales managers pick up shifts driving for rideshare apps. Others try to retrain for solar panel installation or logistics. But the competition is fierce, and the bills don't wait. Bankruptcy notices fill the local paper, and some families pack up and leave, chasing rumors of work in other states. The sense of loss is personal. Years of stability wiped out, savings drained, futures put on hold. For the community, the fallout is more than economic. School districts debate how to handle shrinking enrollment. Churches and food pantries see new faces every week. The recreational vehicle industry's collapse has turned a boomtown into a place where hope feels rationed, and no one knows when or if the good times will return. The Millers' journey began with a decision that once sounded impossible. They sold the family home, bought a fifth-wheel RV, and turned the open road into their address. In July 2022, they closed on their suburban Illinois house for $450,000, packed up what they could, and put down $105,000 for a used Grand Design rig. It was not just about adventure. Mortgage rates had soared, and rent for a 3-bedroom in their area was climbing toward $2,500 a month. For the Millers, 2 kids, a dog, and jobs that could be done from anywhere with Wi-Fi, the math was simple. Freedom, they thought, might finally be affordable. Reality, though, came fast. Their first month on the road emptied another $18,000 from their savings for campground deposits, insurance, upgrades, and a breakdown that stranded them outside Denver for a week. The tow truck bill alone was $1,700. By Thanksgiving, the family had spent $8,500 on repairs, including slide-out motors, a leaky roof, and a shattered window from a hailstorm in Texas. Reliable internet turned out to be a constant chase, with monthly costs for hotspots and boosters topping $250. Homeschooling, called road schooling, meant juggling online lessons with hikes in national parks and library stops in small towns. Some days it worked. Other days, the kids missed their old friends, and the Wi-Fi dropped out in the middle of math. They are not alone. As of 2025, between 486,000 and 1 million Americans are living full-time in RVS, up from just a fraction of that before the pandemic. Some are digital nomads, some retirees, and more than ever, families like the Millers, squeezed by housing costs or drawn by the promise of mobility. Monthly budgets stretch anywhere from $1,500 to $3,000, not counting surprise repairs or rising campground fees. For many, it is not a vacation. It is survival on wheels, with every mile bringing both new hope and new hurdles. The Millers say they traded a mortgage for freedom, but every day is a reminder. Life on the road is anything but simple. Downtowns that once relied on steady property taxes from anchored families now face a new kind of uncertainty. In Corpus Christi, city budget analysts warn of a growing gap as more residents declare their primary address out of state or move into RV parks that pay little or no local property tax. While the city's official numbers don't isolate the impact, council meetings have turned heated, with officials estimating millions in lost revenue since 2023. One council member put it bluntly, "If we can't keep families rooted, we can't sustain our future." The ripple doesn't stop at the city's books. Library hours are on the chopping block, fire department overtime is frozen, and road projects are delayed. School districts debate consolidating campuses as enrollment drops. The shift to mobile living, once seen as a fringe trend, is now a fiscal headache for local governments across Texas and beyond. On the streets, the pushback is visible. In counties along Colorado's Front Range, new parking bans and overnight camping restrictions have sparked protests and petitions. Over 4,000 signatures landed on the desks of Boulder officials in 2025, demanding the right to park and live in RVs without constant harassment. Advocacy groups like the Open Roads Collective have filed lawsuits challenging what they call discriminatory zoning. Their spokesperson summed up the frustration. If your home has wheels, you're suddenly persona non grata in most counties. Industry forecasts offer little comfort. The RV Industry Association projects shipments will hover between 320,000 and 353,000 units in 2025, far below pandemic highs and just enough to keep factories open. Dealers, still drowning in old inventory, brace for another year of thin margins and tough choices. Sociologist Lisa G. Lawrence sees a deeper shift. The myth of the static American dream, white picket fences, is yielding to a new vision of mobility, flexibility, and adventure. For city leaders and longtime homeowners, the question hangs in the air. What happens to communities when roots are traded for wheels? The answers, shaped by policy fights and cultural change, are only beginning to take form. Today, nearly 1 million Americans call an RV home, and every month that number grows. As cities lose tax revenue and lenders rewrite the rules, the foundation of the housing market cracks in real time. For generations, a house meant stability. Now, mobility is the new security. The question is not how long this will last. It is whether America's definition of home will ever be the same. What is your take? Share your thoughts in the comments below.